Hello everyone, this is Joshua Hawes. As you can tell by just watching the video that I'm joined by a human being, or at least I think he is. I don't know.
I'm not, I'm a robot.
Oh, okay, fair enough. So yeah, of course, he's been on my channel a lot. Like, he's the only YouTuber I've collabed with at the moment.
How many times have I been on your channel? I want to find this out. You can keep talking about
it. Oh, so yeah, it's great to have him back on. As you can tell by the title, we're just gonna talk about Black Widow. Yes, I know it's been out for like a month at this point, but I don't really care. I just wanted to do the video. I offered to Jacob, said he was interested, so
yeah. So we're gonna talk a bit about Black Widow. You know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. My memory is shocking, so
yeah.
I've probably forgotten everything about Black Widow.
I haven't seen it since like early July, so. But I remember it fondly, let's just say. So if it does well, when I say it does well, not if the video does well, as if we enjoy doing it, then we'll probably do it again sometime, because there's still 3 other Marvel films coming out this year. So, yeah, so how about we just start with just brief thoughts before we go into the film. Mm-hmm. So you start. What are your brief thoughts on the film?
Right, so my thoughts on Black Widow, it was good, but like, was it anything special? No. In my opinion, it was a good film. I don't feel like it was like, I feel like it should have been released a lot earlier. I feel like it was a strange place to release the film.
And of course, oh sorry.
No, you.
Some of that, of course, has to be blamed because of the pandemic, so that isn't necessarily Marvel's fault.
But still, I think in order of sort of films, I feel like it could have come out a lot sort of earlier. Obviously, we had Iron Man like so long ago compared to this is like right after all of that.
Yeah, and because you also got to think Black Widow was introduced in Iron Man 2, which came out in 2010.
Yeah,
and I personally think Black Widow was a more deserving character to be the first female superhero than Captain Marvel, because she's been around long enough. And nothing against Captain Marvel, that's a decent film, but I just feel like that wasn't really.
Yeah, I feel like
been the fact.
I feel like Black Widow was a good film. Would I watch it again? Sure. Would I watch it would it be my first choice out of rewatching? Definitely not. It's a good film, very Marvel, like it's like very similar.
It's not anything wild like WandaVision, which is just nuts.
WandaVision was crazy. It's the same as a lot of other films. It's good, but like it's not like I'd say I enjoyed it, but like I don't think that it was. I feel like it was overhyped because the amount of time it was taking to come out. I feel like it got to a point where, and this probably wasn't even purposefully done, but I feel like it got to a point where it was so hyped up that people were expecting a massive film, and it obviously wasn't a massive film.
Yeah, I have a lot of similar thoughts that you do. I feel like apart from post-credit scene aside, this film would have worked a lot better just coming out right before, right after Civil War.
Yeah.
And in case I didn't mention it, spoilers by the way, as if spoiler talk didn't give it away. So yeah, that's kind of one of my main issues. I feel like another issue is that this was no longer the first thing we saw of Phase 4.
Yeah.
Because I think the intention of this film was to have a fun film to continue on the cooldown, because when it was supposed to come out, we were still on the cooldown after Endgame season. So that's what they expected to do, but of course the pandemic pushed that aside and put like pretty much 3 shows first, which those shows are great. So I'd say all 3 are probably better than Black Widow, I would say. But I just feel like it meant that when we got to that film, it didn't do anything much when everything else we see in Phase 4 felt important. I think
Definitely.
Is definitely a big concern, and there were definitely ways you could have easily made this kind of important, not just in the sense of like the main character's return, which Florence Pugh as Elena, I think she's already confirmed to be returning. That was pretty much obvious. Who I think was the highlight of this film, I'd say, is either her or The Red Guardian by David Harbour. Those two kind of, and it's weird that in her own film Black Widow's outshined, which you could say is a interesting criticism, but I understand why, because she was playing her character well, because her character isn't this very charismatic character. Right. So when you're in a film with more charismatic people, of course they're gonna steal the spotlight unintentionally.
I just feel like this film, it came out at a point where I feel like it just doesn't affect me now, because it's like she's dead.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it. Like, if it came out before, I'd be like, oh, this is great, we can see her past, and then, oh no, Endgame, she's died.
Yeah.
But now it's like, okay, I've seen this, great, it was interesting and all, but like, this hasn't got any bearing on adding anything to the story, really.
I think the most annoying part is with this kind of after Endgame, we were hoping I was hoping at least this was going to add more emotion to the sacrifice.
Yeah.
That would make you remember it well. And there was only really one scene I can think about when she talks about potentially having a family with her sister, which is not a very important scene even in the film. So I think that is kind of another big issue. But let's talk about a controversial issue now. We're going to get more into spoiler territory. Taskmaster. A lot of people have a lot of issues with the Taskmaster character. What are your kind of thoughts on how she was presented in the film? Because it was a she.
Yeah. Taskmaster, I don't really know. I would be honest. I don't really get people's sort of problems with Taskmaster. I feel like it was a good character, but like I feel like we didn't see enough of it of her. But like I don't really know. I haven't really sort of looked into sort of people's problems with it. So what sort of people saying about it?
Well, there are some people which I agree with, hate the fact just because it's a female, which I don't agree with at all. I think I don't care if you have like anything about if you change the gender or character or anything, as long as it's still that character. I think I personally think it's because when you go into like the comic books and stuff, he's a very big and important character in the comic book storylines. He's a very interesting character. I haven't read those comic books, just from what I've heard, and I feel like to have him be basically was a glorified henchman disappointed people. And I think my biggest gripe, it felt a bit underwhelming because I was having a feeling, especially because Taskmaster was like advertised as the main villain. They had the potential to be a significant villain going forward, which would have given this film a bit more importance of why it had to come out now.
Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I even think the origin story they told was actually a pretty decent one if you kept them as a villain and maybe had her still talk, because you could actually find her a bit emotional because she pretty much doesn't talk in this film.
Yeah.
I think she was just used to show the other main villain, who I forget the name of, to show this evil side that he would do this to her own daughter. I think that was the only intention, and it didn't have to be Taskmaster, I don't think.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Yeah.
We've already spoke about it being too late, so I will kind of rush that. It felt like in the first 25 to half an hour minutes of the film, it was a lot darker than a lot of the stuff we kind of see with the MCU.
100%.
Because we start off with them in this like family environment, and thinking about it now, I didn't realise all this rewatch, but hearing people talk about it, thinking about it now, it probably is that first part will probably be better on rewatches because you can tell like the emotions of the characters, knowing what they are going to experience in the future. Because Natasha, we can tell by emotions that she knows what's going to happen because the age she was put in this family, but her younger sister doesn't, so she just views it as a normal life. And that like opening intro with like Marvel Studios present, I thought was genuinely freaky, especially watching it in the cinema.
Yeah.
Where the music is just all around you. First of all, I loved finally getting to see a film in the cinema again. That atmosphere is kind of great. So I was starting to think, although this is Marvel stuff, I was thinking like, did I go into the wrong cinema? This doesn't feel like a Disney film. Because it's about these kids basically being kidnapped, tortured, and it's actually quite kind of.
I feel like it was a very dark opening or something. I feel like that was probably one of the only sort of different things that was set apart from other Marvel films. I liked it. I think it was very dark but very interesting to see, and sort of a very good storyline. Sort of showing this sort of storyline and everything.
I feel like especially with that story, it had to be that. You couldn't do a jokey story about this.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of thing. What are your overall thoughts on the new characters they brought in? Mainly the family dynamic kind of characters. I thought Yelena, who was played by Florence Pugh, and David Harbour, who played the Red Guardian, were the highlights of this film.
100% agree, yeah.
Yeah. I feel like the mother, she was fine, but I guess she probably need a bit more.
Yeah, I feel like there wasn't enough from her. I feel like we saw different parts of her. Obviously, we saw at the beginning with her with the children right at the beginning in sort of the dark part where like right at the beginning with sort of the fireflies and then they run away.
Yeah.
And then we also obviously saw later on in the film when they meet up with her again. But I just feel like there wasn't enough of her to really sort of to see. I don't really know, but like I 100% agree that I think Helena was a great part of the film, and it's good that sort of that she's been coming back.
Yeah.
The Red Guardian again, I think he was a good part of the film. I feel like he like the mother could have been a little bit more sort of developed on a little bit. He was more developed than her, but I feel like it could have been even more to make it a better. I feel like Helena was very well done, but
I've heard this kind of like idea someone's been thrown around, which I actually think would have made it overall better if they made this a TV show, because then these other characters could actually have something to get invested in, and Loki probably, I think, although it was really good, probably could have worked better as like a movie. So you could have.
Yeah, that's actually a good shout. Definitely.
It's not my idea. I just heard it from
Yeah,
people.
I know.
That's a really good idea.
But I feel like that is actually very true thinking about it. Yeah, Loki would work definitely quite well as a movie, most likely. And then I feel like obviously the stuff with Loki is obviously it's very. And this is how they do it with all their Marvel TV shows. That they love to leave it on a cliffhanger to sort of draw you into the next episode. And now I'm actually, to be fair, I think there is definitely ways they could have done that if Black Widow was a TV show. There was definitely points throughout the film that are sort of you could stop it there and it would be like a cliffhanger holding on what's happening next.
Yeah.
Sort of, to be fair, I feel like the first dark sequence, like the dark sequence at the beginning,
Could
maybe
be
a little bit different, sort of filmed, edited maybe, would work quite well, maybe like a first episode.
Yeah.
Drawing people in, what's happened next? She's been kidnapped. What's going on?
Yeah.
It's very interesting, yeah.
Plus, I feel like on the Loki side, that would work very well, because episodes like episode 3 was just a filler episode.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
You could have justified everything in that episode in like 20 minutes and add that on to the next episode.
Yep.
So, that could have shortened down. And the second to last episode was good, but it was a bit kind of filler as well. You only needed classic Loki. All the other Lokis, I mean, they're fine, but they, you didn't need them.
Yeah.
That it was just to make the wrong time.
Yeah.
In terms of importance in the MCU, there isn't really a lot, as we kind of mentioned.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was interesting to see the past of Black Widow and sort of understand that, and I feel like it was definitely. I'm not saying that this film wasn't like shouldn't have come out. It 100% should, and I'm glad it did. But I do feel like it was definitely it's just. It feels strange to release it after she's died because it's like granted if you look at it in sort of the actual MCU order of watching the films like in sort of timeline order of the actual films, surely that would probably make sense. But in release timings, it doesn't really make sense because it's just strange. I feel it would work. It works well. It's a good film and it shows. I'm glad that we get to see the sort of the behind the scenes.
Oh yeah,
well, not the behind the scenes if you get what I mean.
Because their origin story is kind of briefly mentioned but never really given the time.
Yeah.
Because there's so much stuff going on.
And I feel like it makes sense to have a film showing an origin story, especially seeing as we see a lot of other characters' origin stories, obviously in their own individual movies. But I feel like it was released at a weird time.
I have very similar thought, but just in terms of importance, how about talk about the post-credit scene, which is the only real, somewhat important thing. So we basically see Black Widow's sister at her tomb, and then we have Yelena, not Yelena,
What's her name?
I forget her name. She's got a character in the comic books that was apparently like had similarities to Nick Fury, which I think is what they're kind of going for.
Yeah. So the person we see, she's the one that she was in.
She was first seen in Falcon and Winter
Soldier,
Soldier, but of course this was supposed to come out before then, and Louis. The actress's name is Julia Louis Dreyfus, but I forget who she. I think it's like Valentina. I think.
Oh yeah, actually that's something right. Yeah.
Yeah, which I have a feeling she's gonna be her kind of building up her new team. Is kind of kind of what I feel about. A lot of people in terms of the comic books look like it's going to be a team called the Thunderbolts.
That's interesting. Yeah. Obviously, we see her in Falcon Winter Soldier speaking to
John Walker,
Captain America. Yeah.
or US agent now.
Yeah. And then in this we see her talking to Elena. So yeah, I feel like that's definitely interesting. I feel like that's definitely something that I'm looking forward to seeing more and sort of seeing what happens with that. Sort of maybe even the evil side of it that there could possibly be. But yeah, it was an interesting post-credit scene, and yeah.
And I also think she might have also hired like Baron Zemo, because it seems like she might have been behind those like flag smashes getting destroyed near the end, because she seemed like in on it.
Yeah.
That's just a thought. But let's kind of do the reveal this post-credit scene Enzo, which I think is most likely building towards the Hawkeye TV show coming out this year.
Later in the year, is it October? Is it?
They haven't confirmed the release date. It's just
it's
just late 2021.
Ah, fair enough.
So it's basically she's like, you're gonna take down the person that was responsible for Black Widow's death, and of course she shows it Hawkeye. We know, obviously, that's not how it goes, but she doesn't. I like it in the sense that they're making the shows feel important, but to be honest, I feel like Loki was already doing that, and all the other shows. But I feel like the biggest issue I have is like this easily kind of gets sorted in like one conversation, and kind of settled.
Yeah.
Because if Hawkeye explains what actually happened, I don't see her having a major issue about.
Yeah, but I feel like with Hawkeye, I feel like it's not going to be like that. I think it will be very dramatized that these people are after them, and that they're trying to take down Hawkeye for this, and that I feel like it will probably be that he can't explain it because like they don't give him the opportunity, maybe.
And plus, it is kind of also a weird thing to like kind of have to explain. So yeah, I can see that. This was just a random thing people started talking about. You probably haven't even heard of it, but you know Wasp, that character? He's the kind of guy who starts to sow Sokovich causes, tries to arrest Black in the beginning. He CGI on him, something that looked a bit off. This has led to people starting believing that this has something to do with the She-Hulk TV show, because Wasp is Red Hulk in the comics, so it leads to the rumor that he's ill and he's dying, and him becoming the Red Hulk to survive is like his last-ditch effort, option. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. It's just a rumor that just came out like nowhere.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about that, but I don't really have an opinion. But yeah, sounds interesting.
Overall, how did you feel like that family kind of dynamic between all the characters kind of worked as a very complicated family?
Yeah, I felt like it was an interesting dynamic, and it was it definitely we saw sort of the progression throughout the film from the beginning of being a happy family to at the end it's sort of reunited, we're back together.
But they're still like I wouldn't say issues, but it's a much more complicated family than a traditional kind of one. One thing I really liked about this is that is the different views on it. Like Black Widow hated it, thought it wasn't real because it was never actually real because she knew what it was leading up to, whether she liked it or not. Her sister thought it was real to her because it's the closest she's ever had to like a normal life. Her mother knew that this was about her, but she was too afraid to like kind of stop this. And his father, which I found the most funny but also interesting one, he was completely oblivious to the struggles that they had. He just saw that they were doing a good thing for their country of Russia, because that part was taking place during the Cold War and stuff. He saw it as just a good thing for the country, so he didn't realise that the pain it actually really caused him for a lot of the film.
Yeah.
That's something. I don't know if you have like anything else you want to kind of touch on about that.
No, I feel like I agree with what you said. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
My only flaws in terms of that family dynamic, when he realises the wrongs is where there's not really that big a moment with her children, because the only time there is, it's not actually Black Widow.
Yeah.
Which kind of seems like comedy, which I don't hate Marvel comedy, but sometimes it can feel a bit out of place, which now looking back at it, occasionally I feel like there was kind of a bit of that, especially with like a serious topic like this. I don't know if you have any similar kind of thoughts how the comedy was done.
Yeah, I agree. Marvel comedy, I feel like there's definitely a place for it, and I feel like it can work. But again, it also there is places where it can't work. I feel like a good place where comedy was used well in Marvel, I feel like is Thor Ragnarok with Korg.
Yeah.
And I think that film is I love that film. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I think that was a very, very good use of Marvel comedy. Even though and then I also agree definitely with you that in Black Widow, it was okay, but I feel like it was it 100% necessary? Probably not.
Yeah, and I feel like at times they used comedy to kind of, at least once at a time in my head, they used comedy to kind of replace the kind of like a serious moment, like him apologising, because they had the comedy, well, it's not really her, and they have a joke, like a little fun joke about that.
Yeah.
But I feel like that was a situation you did, if you're going to have it, at least have later on in the film, actually say that stuff, because that, I feel like, would have been, like, a nice little touch. But overall, I think David Harbour, they used comedy pretty well. Like, my favourite, funniest scene, I think, was David Harbour regarding explaining the time he got frostbite. I don't know why, I just found that incredibly funny just in the cinema. I was just like, my goodness, this is actually what you're having a conversation with your daughter about.
Yeah.
I kind of like with Elena's character, the pose jokes they make. I kind of liked it because it was kind of like, how, like, they kind of open the idea how silly sometimes superheroes can be, doing a pose for mainly just a cool shot to advertise the films and stuff. I kind of liked how they kind of played into that.
Yeah, definitely.
Is there anything else you kind of want to add on?
I feel like we've touched on all of it pretty much. Definitely just. Again, I feel like we've said it a lot that the film came out at a weird position in the MCU, but it was definitely, I feel like it was definitely a needed film, and
it should have happened years ago.
And it was enjoyable. Yes, it should have happened. It should have come out years ago. I definitely enjoyed it. Definitely thought it was very good. Yeah.
I was kind of thinking at the action, although the action was cool, and a lot of time it was actually quite grounded about. Like the punches felt like they kind of hurt.
Yeah.
Which, especially because there's this scene where I think, his name's Dreykov, I think, the main villain.
Yes.
Which I actually, despite how underutilized his character was, felt like he maximised his minutes. Was a very she's almost misogynistic if you think about a character, because he only gets females to do this.
Yeah, I could agree.
Yeah, which I felt like not every character needs an origin story, but maybe like a little bit of knowledge as to why he's doing this.
Yeah, I feel like it could have been developed better. I feel like he was definitely a good character that we got to see throughout. Anyway, it was definitely very interesting. But I agree. Yeah, it could have definitely been better if we see an origin.
Because we only had his name mentioned before, and there was almost this kind of the kind of terrible things he'd done.
Yeah.
And I do like the idea of him not being around that much, because it makes things a lot more interesting. A bit like, it's a weird example in Harry Potter. Lord Voldemort, really, even when he comes back, isn't really seen that much.
Yeah.
But when he comes, it feels a bit like I don't think he's even in the 6th movie.
Right.
I don't know why. Sometimes I do like the idea of keeping villains for like big moments and have them work, like use other people like scheming.
Yeah, I feel like it was definitely well done that they didn't show him too much, and it was sort of like they kept mentioning his name. Oh, there's this evil guy. We've got to go find this evil guy. But it wasn't sort of like we see this evil guy. We're like, oh, he's so evil, and then they're like, oh, we've got to find him. It was very much we were building up, and then we finally see him and they meet him, and it's I definitely agree. It was very.
And the one thing I realised is, like, after the Cold War, how was he able to do this in secret for so long? Because during the Cold War, you'd imagine that was like a big organisation kind of thing, like happening. And as soon as the Cold War ends, he's still able to kind of go through and do that stuff, which I guess was interesting. How did he survive an explosion?
Yeah.
To be honest, I hate it when they bring back dead cows, but they never established him as dead.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with it, and superhero films are not that realistic anyway.
Yeah, I feel like though Marvel has its own rules, and they bring back someone just because they feel like it, and I feel like that is something that's definitely. I agree with you. it's a strange thing to do, and that I feel as though you can't just bring back a character that you killed off. If you wanted the character to stay in, don't kill them, or at least if you're gonna do it, I can't remember which film it is, but where somebody dies, but they don't actually die. They think they're dead, but they're not actually not. Like something like that. It's fine where the characters think they're dead, but then they no, it's what's his name Samuel Jackson,
Nick
Fury when he dies.
Yeah.
I feel like that was.
I mean, I don't know how you could have kind of organised all the doctors to like.
Yeah.
But we won't go into that. I personally, especially on certain occasions, hate when they're being that dead characters. Like, I was really annoyed when they confirmed they're doing a Loki show.
Yeah.
Of course, now seeing the show, I feel like this is one of the few occasions where it's justified because it's different. Like, they're taking him from a different spot in time.
Yeah.
They actually got more stories to tell with him.
Yeah.
But, like, I'm going to be honest, I would be so angry if they bring back Iron Man. Not because I don't like Iron Man, I think he's a great character.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's no more to tell with that character. Loki, I didn't realise it after Infinity War when he had that I would say sacrifice. It was more of just getting killed. But it actually kind of was a heroic moment in his kind of depressing stories we learned in Loki. Like, his only task in life is it's actually quite depressing when you think of it that way.
Yeah. I feel like on the Iron Man front, I feel like as much as Iron Man is probably one of my favourite superheroes from the MCU, and I would love for him to still be in it. I feel as though if they brought him back, that would be an insanely bad decision.
Yeah.
Granted, he definitely made Marvel a lot of money, and they bring him back, he's making even more money.
Yeah.
I just feel like definitely you can't, especially with that extent of the biggest film probably of like many years, Endgame, where that's a whole sort of ending of Endgame.
Yeah, that was like 11 years worth of build to Endgame, so
I feel like that would be definitely a massive shame for them to sort of bring something back. But in the same way, I feel like with bringing back dead characters, someone like Phil Coulson who dies and then comes back, and if you've seen TV series Agents of Shield,
but to be honest, Marvel doesn't actually consider that canon.
Yeah.
So he's still in canon dead.
Yeah, it's really strange how the MCU works, but you know we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, Kevin Feige basically just said shows like Agents of Shield, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, which were technically part of the MCU. He outright said they're not canon.
Right.
Like, he has no control over what they do. It's just because they're like a fun thing. So I guess you could argue whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, because they consider WandaVision the first MCU show, and technically it isn't, with Agents and Shields and stuff. I feel like there are rumours that the only way they're thinking about bringing them back is like in 10 years' time, because of course the end of Loki and the multiverse kind of going to complete tatters. I think it's fair to say. There are rumours that it's going to end in this film called Secret Wars in like 7 to 10 years' time.
Right.
And it's going to have superheroes from all different multiverses and timelines teaming up together to stop the ultimate Kang the Conqueror after however many Kang the Conquerors there are in going forward.
I feel like that would be very, very interesting.
Yeah.
And I feel like that would be honestly quite a good film, because I feel like it would be almost sort of Endgame-esque.
Yeah.
Of Endgame brings them all together, but I feel like obviously it'll be different because it's multiverse. Yeah, that sounds very interesting. Yeah.
But the reason why I mention it, because there was a rumour that there might be Robert Downey Jr. back, but in a different multiverse to come in, which I personally still not convinced with.
Not a fan of.
Yeah, but I that's a little bit more realistic. I prefer that than actually bringing him back within
100%.
the timeline. So I think before we kind of close off the video, I feel like it'll be interesting to see what they do with Elena's Couch going on. That's the main interesting part with this film. We kind of ranted off of the film for a bit, but I feel like that's the thing I'm most interested to see, because I feel like she will take that, be the kind of Black Widow. She'll be the main representation of like the Black Widow going forward. So that's kind of something I'm most interested to see, how her character kind of progresses. Hopefully, because although Black Widow, I feel like overall was a good character, when it came to the Avengers film, she was always kind of kind of brush off aside. Like, she was not in the final battle of Endgame. I feel like that Black Widow movie was just their apology for not being in the coolest part of the entire film.
Yeah.
I think. So, I'll be interested to hope maybe giving her more time, because if she's going to be in stuff like shows, like in the Hawkeye show, that's one thing I really liked about shows, that they've given underutilized characters more time to shine. Cause,
yeah, definitely.
Like, I was not convinced, like, if Sam was not 100% sure after Endgame if Sam Wilson was the right guy to be Captain America.
Yeah.
Because he was not developed that much. But after Winter Soldier, I bought it. Like,
100%.
after Falcon and Winter Soldier, I was like, yeah, he is Captain America, especially the story they kind of told. Because they used racial tension, which I think they used it really well. They weren't just doing it for the sake of doing it. Yes. They doing it because they have a point.
It was a very good storyline, and I think, it's definitely developed him as a character, and it's going to be very interesting to see where it goes.
Those are kind of like my general kind of thoughts of the film. I really like it when they do kind of just make them relatable, which... Because that's the biggest difference between Marvel and DC. A lot of the time, the DC characters aren't really that relatable, because you're supposed to view them as kind of larger than life or unrelatable but still cool. So, and you can have an argument to the cows come home whether that's the better way to do it or not. But Marvel, even Stan Lee said it's supposed to represent the world outside your door. Like, so that's why I feel like they even confirmed just randomly on the Loki show that Loki's bisexual, because they just wanted to like kind of spread out, which I think they're going to do more of that kind of stuff going forward. So, yeah, overall, we've kind of give a lot of thoughts, but like, what are your overall thoughts? Like, how would you rate the film before we kind of close off the video? Because I don't think there's anything else to mention.
Overall, really enjoyed the film. Yeah. If we're giving it a number rating, sort of the number I would go with is looking at all the factors together, I'd say maybe a 6, 7 sort of thing.
Yeah,
maybe. Yeah, it was good. I've said it so many times. It was good. Yeah. Weird timing, but it was definitely an interesting story to see.
My kind of thoughts like on the film as a whole. When I first watched it, you're kind of in the Marvel hype when you first see the film. It's just like, this is really good. So when I first watched it, the first week after watching it, I did acknowledge some of the flaws.
Right.
But I called it like an 8 out of 10 film. Thinking of having time to reflect on the film, especially after seeing, this is just another small thing, which a review of this film should probably be coming out soon, The Suicide Squad. I personally enjoyed that film kind of a lot more. But, and it was a stupid film. But in a good way. Yeah. Overall though, I'd say this film, I would go a bit higher than you, like a 7.5. Something like that. I feel like it's fair. I would. At first, I had this in my top 10.
Right.
It'd probably be like in my top 15. Like, somewhere near the middle.
Fair enough.
I think that's kind of where I stand with this film. I'm more interested. Let's just say, I'm more excited to what's to come than the Black Widow film. I feel like, especially with the multiverse stuff. You've just had a load of opportunities there. Like in Spider-Man, I know you haven't seen it, probably any other Spider-Man films apart from the Tom Holland films.
I have not.
But it's pretty much, although they haven't confirmed it, there's so many rumours, and with the multiverse thing. Yeah. That they're going to bring in Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield to reprise kind of their roles in the multiverse thing. And as someone who kind of... At first I didn't like Tobey Maguire. When I first watched it, I didn't find him that relatable. But I kind of thought that's because it was aimed for a different generation of people. Watching it again, I liked the character. I still think Tom Holland's the best Spider-Man. But that's just because that's this generation's Spider-Man. I think the best thing about all the Spider-Man episodes, which is why I like them all, is that there would be... if Stanley was to create Spider-Man in that generation, that would be what the character would be like. Like, I feel like with Tom Holland, for this generation, like, he is 100% what Stanley would have created if he created it in modern day. The same with the other past Spider-Man. Not sure about the 70s one, I haven't seen that. There's even a 70s Spider-Man film. To be honest, I don't think anyone's seen it. Like, a lot of the Marvel films, kind of like, before X-Men, really, weren't really that big. Like... if you haven't seen any of the X-Men films, like, I would generally recommend it, especially the first X-Men film, because it's nowhere near as big of a spectacle as other the MCU films, but it's very important in the sense it laid the blueprints
Right.
It laid the blueprints. I think the first Spider-Man film, which came out in 2002, laid the groundworks, and then MCU just kind of made a skyscraper.
Yeah.
Yeah, we rambled a bit.
Been talking for 34 minutes.
Yeah, cool. I think that's everything I kind of have to say. I'm more interested in stuff going forward. Like Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness, I'm probably my most hyped movie of 2022. Of 2021, it'll be SpiderMan.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm still shocked that there's still 3 shows as well as 3 Marvel films to come out.
Mm-hmm.
There's What If, Hawkeye, and Miss Marvel's apparently coming out this year.
That's it. Wow.
So, that show. So.
Interesting.
Yeah, I feel like there's more exciting stuff ahead than what we saw with Black Widow. I feel like that was looking too fast in the past, where we didn't necessarily need it. I feel like also when I rewatch the Marvel films, I'm gonna watch this before any of the shows because I feel like it will work better in that place. Kind of build towards the show, then I'll watch the kind of show because. Especially when another big Marvel movie comes out, I like to do a little mini marathon and watch a film a day. Of course, that will change with the shows. That's kind of what I like to do. I feel like that would work better in that place. Like I feel like the film would be seen better if they still postpone the shows.
Mm-hmm.
Had this film come out, then the day after it's released WandaVision. But also at the same time, I loved WandaVision at that time because we were in the midst of a lockdown. Wasn't really anything else to do, and just this bonkers out of this world stuff kind of was taking place as well. Yeah. I talk a lot, as you can tell. Overall, 7.5. So I think that's pretty much it, unless you got anything else to add.
I do have something else to add, but it's not related to Black Widow.
Okay.
Guys, if you're not already subscribed, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Did you know that about 50% of people that watch Josh's videos aren't subscribed?
Yeah.
That's outrageous. So, I know that this video is almost 40 minutes long, but scroll down a little bit, hit the red subscribe button if you haven't already.
Yes.
Because, you're going to regret it if you don't do it. So,
Yeah. Also, check out Jacob. He's alright.
Thank you.
I'm joking. He's great.
Guys, change the plan. If you see the button, actually don't subscribe. I'm kidding.
Yeah, he's a really good YouTuber, but he hasn't necessarily uploaded his main channel in 2 months.
Josh, in 3 days it'll be 3 months.
Okay, 3 months. Sorry, but he does have a second channel, Jacob Silver Play.
I have uploaded there. I think the last one
feel
upload
like
was like a
this
few
is
weeks
stuff
back.
you're doing more right now. You're also going to have Twitch.
Oh, I've been streaming on Twitch a lot. That's what I've been up to.
Yeah. So, to the point where I'm starting to believe he's more of a Twitch streamer than a YouTuber.
Well, I still class myself as a YouTuber first,
Yeah.
Mainly because I'm bigger on YouTube, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of it. If you enjoyed, like the video, subscribe to the channel. There's this little bell. You should click that so you know when my videos come out. I don't think I've even uploaded. I think it's been 16 days since I've uploaded. So welcome back. So also make sure you give Jacob's stuff a watch, like his Twitch streams, his YouTube, all very enjoyable stuff. So yeah, I think that's all. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.
See you later.